So you're really scared of spiders?
1,000%, yeah. It's oh yeah.
You're about by spiders like I am snakes, like you're done.
I think I actually might be more scared of spiders than you are snakes.
There's no way.
I promise you.
There's no way.
Ask anybody that knows me. I ain't kidding you.
I mean, I've known you pretty well for a pretty long time.
I'm terrified of spiders. Dude, this one summer,
So you're gonna be scared the whole podcast.
I wouldn't call it scary. I'd call it terrified.
With that being said, why don't you go ahead?
Welcome back to the Fish Life Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. There is currently an 8-legged death freak somewhere in this couch, and I'm gonna be doing a U-turn with my head just about the whole podcast.
We have started off the rails as usual. Yeah, little spider crawled over the 6-inch bag, running away from us when we sat down, and Chris is now losing his mind. Losing his mind.
Enthused wouldn't be the word that describes me right now.
That is greatness. So,
having said that,
let's talk about some fishing.
let's do it. Let's do it. Oh,
okay.
Sorry,
let's get it back together. Let's focus here.
So, first off, Fish Life Podcast, the best fishing podcast ever.
Welcome back.
Guess, don't we have a pretty special guest tonight?
We got a good guest. We got what they call an OG of the YouTube fishing world, an original gangster, a throwback to the way back.
To all the kids at home that don't know what OG means.
Before YouTube fishing was a thing, there was an old boy named Gene Jensen, wears a Georgia Bulldog hat in every video, that was doing a lot of the similar type content that we do now. How to this, in-depth that. Made some really good videos, some of the most viewed fishing videos of all time. A lot of them are on his channel. And his channel is Flukemaster, and his name is Gene Jensen. And I've met him when he came down to Lake Fork for a kayak tournament, and we have since stayed in contact. And so we're going to talk to Gene a little bit later tonight and get some insights into the old school world of YouTube versus now. And I know there's a lot of people that listen that want to do YouTube fishing stuff, so we'll talk to him about that and just kind of some of his background and just kind of how he's going about business with things being what they are in the world and how things are doing for him. So we'll get in depth on all kinds of Flukemaster fishing stuff with him later.
He's like the Bill Dance, but he gives you all the goods.
Yeah, I mean I don't know that I would compare him necessarily to Bill Dance, because Bill Dance was just always trying to sell you something while catching big fish on private lake.
I was more or less going with the Tennessee hat, the Georgia hat.
Yeah, Gene will fish public water and show you how to break it down. He's legit, man. He's been in the industry for a long time. He's very, very legit. So
yeah, that was just a hat reference.
A hat reference. He does wear an SEC football hat.
That's right.
From his loyal Georgia. He's from Georgia.
But he actually gives you the fishing goods.
Yeah, I mean, not that Bill Dance didn't have the skins on the wall. I mean, Bill Dance was one of the best anglers of all time. The problem with Bill Dance was, and I was a huge Bill Dance fan growing up. I watched every episode. Looking back now, I can realize exactly, being in the inside of the industry, I know exactly what Bill Dance was doing. He was fishing his own privately owned, stocked, managed lakes where he knew he could catch them every week, because that's cheating.
Right.
I mean, let's be real, that's cheating.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to go out there and catch them big ones than it is on public water in a private lake, So he was doing that and putting big fish on camera to get attention and using that to parlay that into sales. And he sold some of the most gimmicky, garbage baits of all time and put his name on absolutely anything that he thought he could sell. That's my problem, Bill. Like, the dancing eel runt me, bro.
Yeah.
That crankbait with a worm tail coming out of it, that was just nonsense.
Yeah.
That was garbage. And he puts his name on that. And I remember so specifically how adamant he was in his show about selling that. How this is two of the best baits combined of all time. This is going to catch more. I mean, he was like, this is the best fishing lure that's ever been created. And he was going out there to private lakes where he could catch them on it, because they bite anything, and he wasn't even catching them that good on them. But boy, he was singing his praises. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I am not okay with that. For me, I'm not okay with that.
No, just because of what everything you've built, just the basis of what you built this on.
You can tell I'm not okay with that if you've watched this channel from the beginning, because my deal has always been with every piece of content that we produce. If I tell you that something works, do I have sponsors? Do I plug my sponsors? Yeah, that's part of this industry.
Right.
But if I'm picking up a bait from my sponsor or not my sponsor and showing you this, you're getting documentation of me catching fish on it on public water when I'm doing it. Like, I'm out on public lakes, like Lake Fork, one of the toughest lakes to get bit on there is.
Mm-hmm.
And we're catching fish on those lures. So everything if I tell you this is good, you can take it to the bank. When you buy that, you know you're getting a quality product. I just have always been very adamant about. I won't plug anything that I don't fully believe in.
That's right.
And obviously I stand against that whole I'm going to sell you. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, this is biblical. You're not supposed to deceive others.
Mm-mm. You know?
And what Bill Dance did in the way that he what a lot to be fair to Bill Dance, what most of the fishing industry did for years. And still kind of does is deceive the public into buying lures. Even the ones that are good, they overhype them and everything else. Like, I've never been okay with that. Once I figured out that was what was going on, I've never been okay with that. So didn't mean to go off on a little bit of a fishing industry rant, but that is one of the ugly parts of the fishing industry is that you got a bunch of all shucks good old boys that have that image that, oh yeah, I'll tell you the truth, handshake, look you in the eye, do, but I'm gonna lie to you and say you're fishing bait. It's like a lot of things with fishing. Fishing industry has some of the best people on earth. I mean, they're family oriented, hardworking Christian guys, but somehow when we get on the lake and go bass fishing,
it's okay to throw all that.
Now we're real selfish. We're real self-absorbed, and we're kind of a butthole, to others. We treat others rudely, impolite, with disrespect. Like that is a cult. That's a part of bass fishing, where you take some of the nicest, best, most genuine people, and all of a sudden they turn into jerks, absolute jerks, and go against everything they stand for in a lot of ways. And the sales part of fishing industry is much the same. Good people. But somehow it's okay. Like, it's okay to lie in fishing, right?
It's okay. Culture. Yeah.
It's okay to lie in fishing. But yet everybody that fishes, for the most part, they're all good people that believe that lying is bad. But when it comes to fishing, it's okay to lie. Like, huh?
Yeah.
And I'm not perfect, folks.
No, yeah. I mean,
I need as much help as anybody out there. I'm all monkeyed up. But, at least I do try to stay honest on and off the water as much as I can.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about this. Get back on the rails a little bit. Where the heck you been the last couple days?
Yeah, so I just drove in this morning through all the storms and everything. It's been raining like crazy around here. I just drove in this morning from Lake Sam Rayburn. Been at Lake Sam Rayburn for a few days. We took the Fish Life crew down there. You might say everybody but you. Not because you didn't get invited, but
right? No, I know.
You just couldn't break loose.
Yeah.
But we took the Fish Life crew down there. We took a couple guys that helped us with the app. We took Zach Watts. His son and nephew came and had a few other guys there with us. And, man, we rented a house out, and we absolutely lived it up for a few days.
I can only imagine.
We fished all day till we were exhausted. We got home. We ate. Golly, the food we had was unbelievable food, man. Just one of the best steaks I've ever eaten in my life.
Any trip that involves Zach Watts, you can almost guarantee the food is going to be prime time.
Well, and our buddy Michael Sims brought some steaks and grilled them up, and, man, they were just huge steaks. We had those paper plates, and we had some other trimmings to go with the steak.
But nowhere to put it on the plate.
But I put my steak on the plate. I'm like, I ain't got no room for it. Get the whole steak covered up, that whole paper plate.
It's when you make a steak burger.
Zach made his jambalaya the first night. I mean, it went down, bro. It went down for real. And then last night we went real simple. We went dogs and burgers, but even that, the burgers that we had were so good. They were so good.
You're making me want to nap right now.
I'm telling you, it has been 3 days of fishing all day and picking out all night, and then cap it off with a few of them brown water drinks and sit there and talk nonsense to each other. It's been great. And the fishing at Rayburn was good. I say it was actually kind of tough. We had that cold front. A few, 4 or 5 days ago, right before we got there, it had a real bad cold front. The water, we got there a couple days behind that cold front. The water temp was at its bottom, it dropped us almost 10 degrees in a few days. And anytime water temps drop 10 degrees, I tell people all the time, it's a lot more about the trend than it is the raw temperature. Right. Yeah, the water temp when we got there was 63, 64, whatever. Hell, but it had dropped 10 degrees in a couple days. So that tends to make those fish shut down and not bite as good. And it did. Some of our guys did struggle. I was fortunate. We caught fish pretty good, the days that we fished. And we'll have some video coming up this week from Sam Rayburn, some really good video content. We had little side bets going,
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, we had a little competition going between us. And we got Dinkmaster 5000, Zach's nephew, Keaton. We got him real good on a prank one night. And so I'm not going to reveal what that prank was. But we got him one night at the house. We got him real good. And what won't be on camera is we also got Keaton. Keaton, this was his first time on this trip. So he was fair game to everybody. Right. We also got Keaton. We took his Texas rig rod, unspooled about 30 to 40 feet off of it, cut it, then spooled that back on.
That's the move.
So the first day, the only thing he fished with the whole day was his Texas rig. We caught every fish on. Well, and he was just kind of pitching some grass and stuff with a little baby brush hog or whatever. Keaton's not like, he ain't gonna go out there and just work that trap or chatterbait through that grass. Like, he's not the most skilled fisherman, you might not say. He's just a good old boy. He likes to drag a worm around, throw a wacky worm. He's just a simple fisherman. But he makes his first cast with his Texas rig that morning. Now, unfortunately, he wasn't in my boat or Zach's boat. There weren't cameras running. He was in Mike's boat, but he makes his first cast with that Texas rig, and it just... And what was funny is he didn't even realize it. Because he cast it, and he was watching Mike Sims fishing it. He was watching something Sims was doing. So he cast it, and normally he casts the Texas rig out and just strips a little bit of line to let it fall straight down. Mm-hmm. Good idea.
Right.
Well, he wasn't even watching when he cast. So he cast, and he was watching Sims, and he goes, there's no line coming out of the reel. He's like, what the hell? And then, after he does this, then he hears his bait land like 100 yards away. So
he threw the longest touchdown pass the whole time.
yeah. His bait was still flying while he was looking for his line, and all of a sudden it landed. And so that was pretty good. We had a great time, man. We caught a lot of good fish. A lot of content this week from Zach's boat and my boat on Rayburn coming up. So stay tuned for that.
Out of that new rig too that old Z got.
That is part of this deal. You'll see Zach got a brand new boat. It's a Skeeter thing around here. When the Skeeter gang, whoo, yeah.
Dang right.
It's a Skeeter. You know, Mike had his boat down there. He's got an FX. I had an FXR down there. We actually had like the whole Skeeter lineup.
I saw a TikTok where I seen about a row of 5 of them, and I was
there was four Skeeters on this trip. So we had 8 guys, four Skeeters. We had my FXR. Mike Sims had his FX Select from last year, and Zach had a 2020 ZX, and one of our other guys, JC, was down there. He's got a little bit older Skeeter, so we had a throwback. So we had all 3 of the current. We had the 3 current models, and then we had the throwback.
Well, next year you're gonna have a 03 ZX in the line.
You coming next year?
I'll come.
We'll see. Chris has a good habit of telling you he's gonna do something, and then something comes up.
Well, in my defense, I had some family stuff I did.
I know you did.
Yeah.
I know you did.
Otherwise, I'd have been there. Of course, I also didn't know about it till 2 days before.
I'm just saying, at this point in our relationship, like when you tell me something this far in advance, like I'm just gonna hold my. We'll see.
No, I mean this far in advance, it's a plan.
Yeah.
The Grandmaster plan.
Yeah. Then something comes up.
Now, I just want the listeners to know,
folks, and then something's
that
gonna come up.
Y'all should have seen the harassment text that I was receiving the night before. They were gold. I can't necessarily say what they said, but they were gold.
We definitely got you, buddy. We definitely got you.
I mean, Zach even sent me the dang address. And he said, if you don't show up here tomorrow, you ain't a man. I said, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. What else we got, man?
Man, sorry. So, let's talk about my punishment that had to get put on hold.
So, you lost a bet about fishing a tournament earlier in the year.
Correct.
And agreed to a punishment. One of the viewers picked the punishment. And the punishment was you had to wear pajama pants, purple Crocs,
Hawaiian shirt, lightning bolts.
And I get to cut lightning bolts in your hair.
Correct.
And you had to fish your tournament in that getup.
Correct.
Well, then everything happened with this coronavirus. Right. Your tournament got canceled. So instead...
Are we just going to do next scheduled tournament? Because I'm sure they will pick up.
I think what we need to do is we need to arrange for a day for me and you to go fish together and film, and you wear that outfit while
so
we
a day on the water episode in my outfit.
Yeah, probably a challenge episode or something like that. But we need to go do an episode for your Lake Fork guide in the punishment outfit. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I mean...
Because who knows when tournaments are going to come back together.
Fair is fair.
Now, if the tournament schedule pops up and you got a tournament in May, then we'll do that.
Okay. Sounds good. Our next tournament would be in Athens.
So we're not letting him slide, folks.
No. And matter of fact, I've reminded Billy of this several times.
Yeah, we're not letting him slide.
We're not.
Chris is a man of his word. He's going to pay off his bet.
So hopefully May 16th, I'll get to fish a tournament and that get up. If not, we'll do a day on the water.
You know what I want to do right now?
What's that?
I want to call the man. I want to call Gene. Let's talk to Gene. Let's talk some OG YouTube, man.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, Billy?
Mr. Gene Jensen, the Flukemaster himself. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Man, if we was any better, I don't even know what to call it. I got my buddy Chris Blackman here with me. He helps me with the podcast. Hey, we're going to get this thing started right, man. Every time we do a call into a podcast guest, we have 2 questions. We ask every one of them. Chris, hit him with some questions.
All right, you ready for this one?
All right.
All right, so the first one is Biggie or Tupac?
I'm from Atlanta, so I'd say Tupac.
There you go.
Come on with it.
Tupac, we like it. All right.
All right, so the second one is if you could bring back a hairstyle, what hairstyle would you bring back?
A mullet.
It's like the hands down, you know, and you probably could guess this. Hands down, the most popular answer in the fishing world is a mullet.
Yep, exactly. I never had one, never cared to have one, but if we had to bring one back, it'd be a mullet, because the next step down is a rat tail, and I don't ever want to see those again.
Oh man, I've now changed my answer. My answer is no longer the mullet. I want the rat tail to come back.
I was going to say, you might just open my eyes.
Now we got to do a follow up to the mullet, because there's like, are we talking about a John Daly mullet, or are we talking about like Joe Dirt?
I'm talking about a John Daly mullet, not a Joe Dirt mullet.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The old short mullet. By the way, we've been talking about this for a long time. We're going to have to do, we've got a podcast episode coming up. We're going to dive into the legend of John Daly. We just feel like he's such an important American icon that we need to discuss this at length.
Oh, yeah, that'd be hilarious.
Yes.
I don't think there's enough Diet Pepsi.
Well, man, yeah. So what's, man, dude, you were like, and we've talked about this before a little bit, but you were like, I don't know that you're the first like instructional fishing YouTuber, but you might be.
It's kind of a tie between me and Nick, the informative fisherman, out in California.
Yeah, you've been doing this as long as anybody has.
Yeah. He went the way of a TV show, and I kind of stayed the small video type. He's come back that way, but man, yeah, him and I were doing it about the same exact time. It was pretty cool.
Now, we obviously, dude, everybody, and as small as my channel is, everybody that has a YouTube channel with any views at all, you get asked by people that view your channel, you get asked by people that you meet, man, how do I do YouTube? How do I get a fishing YouTube channel going? And I figured you could probably answer that question a lot better than me. You've obviously done it for a lot longer on a much bigger scale than I have. So do you have any advice for viewers out there that want to get into fishing YouTube? I know it's a lot harder now than it used to be.
Yeah, the biggest thing is when I started, there wasn't anybody on YouTube, so I just did it for the individuals that just wanted to learn how to fish. But the biggest thing I tell people now is start.
Yes.
Just stop talking about making a YouTube channel. Start. Work hard at it. Don't quit. And learn all you can about video production and audio and that kind of stuff. You don't have to do amazing edits. You just have to be good in front of a camera, which comes. That's something that's, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult for others, or, for some than others. But the biggest thing is start and don't quit. Because I'm the guy that didn't quit. Been doing it almost 12 years.
Yeah.
And so, and I didn't care. I didn't care what people said. I didn't respond to bad comments. I kind of tried to keep it as clean as I possibly could, and just have a goal and a vision in mind, and just go for it and work harder than everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one analogy that I've used to tell people is if you'd never played baseball before, and you wanted to start playing baseball. You could read all the books about hitting mechanics and swing mechanics that you wanted to. You're probably not going to hit Clayton Kershaw the first time you step into the box. He's probably going to strike you out. No matter how many books you read. You have to go get some cuts in the cage. You have to get millions of cuts. You have to get millions of at-bats under your belt before you're going to be able to be successful on a big-time level if you're trying to learn how to hit a baseball. It's no different than making videos. You have to start making them. And yeah, guess what? The first time you swing a baseball bat, you're not going to look real great, probably. You're not going to look, that's not going to be your best swing you ever take. So the first time you make a YouTube fishing video, it's not going to be the best video you make. And what you said is so true, man. And I've gone through that process myself of the more videos you make, the easier it gets and the better that you get at it. And then on top of that, if you add in some homework and some studying and some practice reps, via research and learning how to, title your videos correctly, do the right type of content that people want to see. That's going to help you get more views. And then you have to make a decision too, like talking about that, titling and doing the right type of content. Like we all have to try and hit search, keyword searches and stuff in our videos, but you have to make a decision. Are you going for big time scalable views, Because if you're doing that, then you need to do your content completely differently than guys like me and you who do content basically like we're going to do the content we want to do to help people with fishing, no matter whether one person sees it or 1 million people see it. And whatever views we get, we get. I know that you're kind of the same way I am on that. Like, I've never gone out and, will I title a video on a trending topic if I get the opportunity? Absolutely. I'm not going to go out and make a $20 micro fishing blah, 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 whatever, because that's trending in search. I'm going to make bass fishing videos. I'm going to make them instructional when I can to the best of my ability. I'm going to try and help people catch more and bigger fish. And whatever views I end up with, that's what I end up with.
Yeah, well, the thing that I think about it is the difference between somebody that's searching for trending video or trying to do trending videos or trying to do these blogs. Those videos live on YouTube and make revenue for only a few days to a few weeks, and then they're gone. Nobody watches them. Nobody, somebody might pick them up here and there, but instructional videos that you and I do, they live forever. They're not going to get as many views as they do in the first couple of weeks, but you will continue to get views on those videos throughout their lifetime.
Yep.
And so then it becomes how many of these really good instructional videos can I make in order to make a living at it?
Yeah.
And so, and I'm not relying on the next big trend, and I'm not relying on do I need to fake this video to make a viral video? I'm just relying on me going fishing and making videos that people want to watch and learn how to fish.
Absolutely. And that's so true. I mean, one of my, it's in my top 10 videos almost every single month, is a video that we did over 2 years ago. When we first made it, it didn't get very many views at all. But it was a video about how to make your own plastics with a guy from Smash Tech Baits, a small bait company down here in East Texas, where he walked us through how he makes custom poured swim baits. And now that video every single month is in my top 10 most viewed videos. Well, that's the video I made 2 years ago that's doing better now than it did when I let it out, when I released it. So, and I have several videos like that, and I have a fall transition instructional that every time we get close to the fall, boy, it gets a lot of views, and every year it just gets more and more. So it's
and then the downside to that is we're not going to grow fast.
No.
We're not going to have the 100,000 view in a week videos. We're just not going to have it.
Yeah.
But we're going to have 100,000 views in a week eventually, or 1 million views in a week, depending on how many videos we have.
Right.
And so that's something that somebody's going to have to, a choice that somebody's going to have to make. Do I want to, make one or the other? It's just one of those things.
Absolutely, man. Well, so another question I want to ask you, what is the biggest differences that you've seen in doing YouTube, say 5, 7, 8 years ago versus doing YouTube videos today? What's the biggest differences?
Well, when I first became part of the YouTube Partner Program, you had to fill out a job application, a literal piece of paper you sent in, and they went to your YouTube channel and they evaluated it and accepted you or declined you, depending on your content or whatever. There was no this number of views or anything else. They individually selected you to be in that program. And so, and then from there, it's just been crazy. But what I've learned is, or what's been different was just the fact that the number of people that are watching fishing videos now is extremely huge compared to what I did. I remember the first video I ever got 1,000 views, and I was partying, and that video had been out for like 6 months. 8 months, something like that, and everybody's talking about wanting to make money at this. I was making videos for 4.5 years before I received my first $100 check from YouTube. 4.5 years of making videos. And so, like I say, don't quit, and you'll end up getting that motivation of a check. And then 6 months later, you might get another $100 check. It's not fast. It's the slowest way to grow, or slowest platform to grow on. But you can do it if you just work hard at it.
Yeah, I think it needs to be something like anybody that thinks they're going to just get to do something they like doing, people that like to fish, if they think they're just going to get to do something they like doing and make a living doing it, there's no quick, easy answer to the YouTube thing. Not anymore. I mean, there was a time where there kind of was, but not anymore. There's not. not. There's too much content. There's too much really, really. I mean, there is some really quality content among the instructional content and among the more clickbait-oriented entertaining content. Some of that content's really good. Like, it's well produced, well edited. A lot of effort goes into it. That's one thing I got to say and I'm not knocking the guys. By the way, I'm not discrediting the guys that go the route of trying to chase the trending topics and get the views. That is a job. And every one of those guys that I know that's done it at the highest scale in our category, whether it's a Lunkers TV, whether it's a Ben Milliken, whether it's, any of these guys, every one of them that I've met quite a few of them now. One thing they all have in common is you cannot question their work ethic, their drive, and their really kind of their skill in what they do. The guys that succeed on a big time level, man, they are working around the clock and they have a lot of knowledge and a lot of skill at what they're doing. And it's fun to watch them do it because they do. It's always fun to watch somebody do something at an excellent level, and they do. They do a really good job of making entertaining content that people can relate to. They do a really good job of kind of cracking the algorithms and hitting the searches, and they're smart. And the work ethic that goes into it is something to admire for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, and for these young guys who think this is just hey, I'm going to go make a video, put it on YouTube, and make lots of money, or make videos. It's work. The video part's the easy part. It's 110 hours a week. You're grinding and doing this, and from my standpoint, I'm spending hours doing research because I don't know everything about a subject. I want to know everything before I go make a video.
Yeah. That's the thing people. That's the thing people never see is the hours where you're sitting there looking for the right search terms, or the hours that you're sitting there looking for a piece of music that you won't get demonetized to use that sounds good and fits your video. Like, it's crazy the amount of hours that go into producing these videos.
Yep, exactly. And you can hire somebody eventually, but it's still you're still going to spend a lot of time working, and It's fun. I love it. Absolutely love it. What sucks on my end of it is there are certain baits that I want to fish all the time, and I can't because I've got to make a video about this certain bait or this technique or whatever. And I could go out and catch a fish every single day on a worm or a fluke or a jig, but I can't make a video about that every single day. I've got to make something different.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes it's tough.
That's probably where I'm flawed because I'm gonna go through that chatterbait every day. If I've got some grass out off the bank, I'm throwing a chatterbait. Like that's just gonna be
me too. I wish I felt good about faking a catch. Catching a fish on a chatterbait, putting it on a different bait.
Oh man!
Trying to make a video about, but I don't feel good about that. I've done it for like promotional videos, but I've never done it for one of my instructions.
Yeah. No, it needs to be real, man.
I do for like pictures and things like that. But other than that, no.
You'll hear this if you listen back to the beginning of the podcast. But we actually, when we were previewing your interview tonight, we because you always wear a Georgia hat and Bill Dance always wore the Tennessee Volunteers hat. Bill Dance was brought up, and I said, man, Bill Dance was great. I watched him. I was a huge fan. But he was selling us a bill of goods. Like, he was going to private lakes and catching fish on garbage lures and selling them. And that's one thing I appreciate about you is there's none of that in your content. And I've never done any of that. Like, if you see me catch a fish on camera on that bait, it's real. And when I'm telling you this bait works, it's because I'm out here on a public body of water catching fish on it, and I know it works. So I can tell you that with all confidence. And I think that's important.
Well, when I got started, I was guiding on a private fishing resort. It was the highest or heaviest it was a huge managed lake, 250 acres, feeder trained bass. I could catch bass whenever I wanted to, and those were great to get started, get my feet wet, and start learning how to do the process. But I'm so glad I don't do that anymore. It was a blast. I could, literally could go out and catch a fish on anything, but I made sure that I was honest about it. And those are the videos back when I didn't even get excited about catching a 6-pounder.
Yeah.
Because it was just nothing on that lake. You put me on a public lake and I catch a 4-pounder that's big for that lake, I'm going to go nuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I still love to go try out private lakes, but I get offered every single week to go fish somebody's private lake. And I'm like, I just want to go fish these public ones that are around my house,
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I mean, I have a theory or a saying that I go with, and man, the day that I don't get excited about 4-pounders, I'll quit.
Yeah.
And we do, living where I live, and you've been down here, living where I live, when it gets good, I mean, you do get real used to catching fish over 5 pounds because we just are very fortunate around here. We've got it's not just Lake Fork. We've got a lot of lakes around here where you can go catch 4 to 5 pound fish every day when it's good. And so we do get real used to them, but man, I just never get tired of catching. When I get a fish that big on and in the boat, it gives me a little kick. And a day it doesn't give me that little boost, that little adrenaline, whatever, that little high, I'll stop. I'll go do something else because that's what I live for. And it's awesome, man. There's nothing finer in the world.
That's what happened to me with deer hunting is I got to the point where I didn't get the shakes anymore. And I just quit. I was just like, I'll take my boys out, and that's when I get excited with my boys, but I'm done, for the most part, unless somebody wants meat. It just got boring to me.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's funny. I feel like we're kindred spirits in a lot of ways, and I'm the same way about deer hunting. I was fortunate to grow up deer hunting. One of the things that led me down the path of ending up in the outdoor industry, I was just very fortunate as a child. I was very, very, very blessed to, I bass fished. I lived on Lake, my dad lived on Lake Conroe. I lived right around Lake Conroe, fished Lake Conroe a bunch, which was good, not great. But I got to fish Sam Rayburn. I got to fish Sam Rayburn a lot as a kid. I got to fish Toledo a little bit. Got to fish Lake Falcon a little bit back in the 90s. And I deer hunted with my family down in deep South Texas, down there close to Lake Falcon. And the deer hunting down there is some of the best in the world. And so everything that I did in the outdoors, I got to do at the highest level as a kid. And I really got to figure out what it was that I love to do outdoors. The deer deal, man, you know what? I like sitting in a deer blind, and I like shooting a deer, and I like eating a deer, but I'm not into that grinding a whole season for 1 or 2 trophy deer. Like, that's not my deal. That's not what I want to do. Duck hunting, I'm cool with. Like, I like duck hunting, but I don't love it. Like, I'll go duck hunting a couple times a year, but it's not something, I don't want to go out and kill every duck. I'm just not that driven by bird hunting of any kind, dove hunting. I like to go out and collect a few and get a little meat, but I'm not obsessed with it. But for some reason, like I was that kid, Gene, when we went deer hunting, I had the fishing pole with me to make a couple casts. When we went by that stock tank on the ranch, or, I always would rather be bass fishing. And even fishing with my dad as a kid, my dad would do a little meat hunting out on the lake. He'd go crappie fishing, catfishing. I'd bring a spinnerbait rod and a worm rod and be sitting out in the middle of the pond on a creek channel. My dad's catching catfish, and I'm just chunking and winding a spinnerbait out there in the middle of the lake because I would just rather be bass fishing. It was always what I loved more than anything else. And I was able to, really fortunate to get exposed to outdoors life at a high level in all categories and really honed in on, man, bass fishing is my deal.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. And for me, it was just, I've shot big deer in my life, but for me, I know how many 2.5-year-old does it takes to fill my freezer for a year. And that's all I shoot, And if I shoot that many, now I got 3 teenage sons that would rather deer hunt, so I just take them out and let them shoot. So,
yeah, man, that's living outdoors is the deal, man. I think everybody that listens to this, and me and you, we're all so passionate about. I know Chris sitting here with me; he's passionate about all that stuff, and he's a duck hunter. That boy likes to get after them ducks. But that outdoors lifestyle, it's just we're all so fortunate to live in a place where we have the resources to allow us to do that. We have the animals, we have the deer, we have the birds, we have the fish, and then B, to live in, obviously in America where we're free to do all those things that we love to do. We kind of have, you go buy your license and stay within the law. You're free to kind of do however you want to do it. So that's obviously a blessing too. Speaking of that, the world is in a different place right now, man. And I know, for me, I've been kind of fortunate. I haven't felt too many ill effects of it. What's going on in the world of Flukemaster with all the coronavirus stuff? How has that affected your ability to make videos or produce content or make your living? Has it had any negative effects at all?
No, well, my wife does screenings at the clinic. She's a nurse, so she's on the front lines. But for me, it really hasn't changed much. I'm not traveling as much. I'm kind of staying close to home so I can, my kids are home from school and everything else. So I've got a public fishing area that's right down the road from my house. I'm good friends with the rangers and the game wardens that are out there, and I just go fishing. And so, but I'm not going to Gunnersville. I'm not going to Chickamauga. I'm just staying close so I can, my kids are they still got to do their schoolwork, so I still got to be home because my wife isn't. But other than that, not a whole lot's changed. I was putting in a garden yesterday, and I was driving fence posts, and the fence post driver came off the top of the post and hit me in the head, and I got 6 new staples in the top of my head.
What?
Other than that, I'm doing all right. I had to go to the ER yesterday, but it is what it is.
Holy cow, man! That's
yeah.
That's
but
pretty wild.
I got home and finished putting tomatoes in, and then came in the house. So
no big deal.
I didn't lose my man card over it.
Just 6 staples in the head, no big deal.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris. Chris, do me a favor. Remind me not to pick a fight or mess with this guy.
Yeah.
He's pretty tough.
Especially if he's driving T-post.
Yeah, especially if he's driving T-post. He's got a weapon. Holy cow, man! Well, dude, I'm sorry that happened. That's pretty. That's pretty wild.
That's not where I thought you were going with that. Let's put it that way.
I think it scared my son more than it scared me. I just laid on the ground and made sure I didn't get blood all over my clothes until my wife came out. We got in the van and drove to the hospital.
Wow.
I've cut the web of my in between your index finger and your thumb with a T-post driver one time. I was trying to adjust it and hammer down with one hand, and my left hand got a little too close. So, yeah.
Ouch.
Those things will get you.
Be careful, folks. T-post drivers are attacking people left and right out there.
They will get you. They will get you.
T-post drivers.
The thing about what's going on, especially now that they're lifting everything, the virus is still out there. But even I worked at a hospital for 20 years, and so I've always been keep your hands clean, don't touch your face kind of person, because I hate getting sick. But with anything, from here on out, the biggest thing that we need to take from this is just keep your hands clean and, don't touch your face, and understand what the things around you that are dirtier than other things and that spread any kind of illness.
Yeah.
Because getting sick, no matter what it is, sucks. But, I think what we did is, what our government had us do, saved a lot of lives, and put a lot of us in some hurt. But we can recover from it. I mean, we've recovered from worse, so why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, the deal is with this deal, it's a lot of the fear, a fear of the unknown is a very real thing. And right now, it's just a matter of nobody really knows what is the new normal going to be. When are we going to resume normal? When are we going to put people back to work? When is the economy going to, get back going again? And not the idea of not knowing what the future holds as far as our economical outlook. I mean, money's not the most important thing in the world, but you got to work. Like, we have to work. Yep. We have to produce. We have to do these things in order to live.
Well, in any kind of situation like this, whether it be natural or man-made or anything else, you can only control what you can control.
That's right.
You can bitch and moan and complain about everything else, but you can't do anything to change it or to control it unless you do it by the masses, and that's a whole other story. But for me, because I've dealt with natural disasters since I was 16 years old, I've always gone and helped clean up after hurricanes and tornadoes and everything else. And I've seen these dads walking around the house, or what's left of their house, not knowing what to do to help their family. And I told myself years ago that I'm never going to be that kind of a dad. I'm always going to be ready for whatever happens. And so, even with this, you got to control what you can control. I went downstairs, made sure we had enough food, made sure I had everything that I needed, started planting my garden a little bit larger so I could help my neighbors if they have issues, that kind of stuff. But it's not panic and go, sit on your thumbs and wait for the government to do something. You can control a lot in your life if things get really bad and you run out of money.
Yeah, that's been.
You got to know how to do it, want to do it.
That's been kind of my only real issue with all of this stuff is I understand that the government had to do something. That this was a scary deal. I am very much at my core, and we may not agree. This may be something we don't agree on. I am very much at my core a government minimalist. I do not like the government telling anybody what to do. I understand there has to be some of that. There has to be laws. There has to be regulations. But I'm of the mentality, if I'm going to take care of me and mine, I don't need the government to take care of me and make my decisions for me. Like, if I want to drive without my seatbelt on and die, well, that's my own stupid fault. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so I didn't like the way the government was telling me, okay, you need to stay home, or you need to do this, or you can't travel from Louisiana to Texas. That's been a big thing over here. Well, hold on now. Like, it's up to me to stay away from people from Louisiana. It's up to me to take care of myself. It's not up to the government to tell me that if I got family or a really tight friend from Louisiana that I can't give him shelter in my house. Like, that's not the government's decision. That's my decision to take that risk or not. And so I didn't agree with some of the restrictive things that the government's done, and I very adamantly disagree with it. I understand, this was kind of a new thing that we haven't experienced before, and everybody's kind of figured out as we go, but man, I don't like the fact that they just kind of started making up rules as they went, and there was no legislative process, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of it I just kind of roll my eyes at. And to be honest with you, the way I'm looking at it is there's going to be a time and a place for us to push back if that stuff doesn't go away when this starts to kind of calm down.
Yes.
If any of that stuff sticks around, that's when it's time to say, wait a minute. And then we start to push back.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing right now, or up until this point, and maybe a little bit longer, is what can we do to prevent ourselves from spreading this to somebody that's going to die from it?
Right.
That normally would not have died from anything, that kind of stuff. But yeah, and I'm glad the numbers are down, and I think a lot of it's a farce. I'm a very independent thinker. I don't pay attention to much of the hoopla. I just kind of look and see what's going on and sit back and see what happens.
I mean, there's no doubt the media is going to overhype everything anymore. News is no longer news. It's kind of a TV show, and they're going to do what they got to do to get clicks. They're in the clickbait business for sure in the news these days. So, man, that's we kind of got off topic there. I'd much rather talk about fishing and all this junk. Hey, I'll tell you one thing we do got to do now. Whenever all this does settle, we've got to get you back over here to Texas, and we got to film some content.
That's fine, dude. Just keep me away from Lake Fork. That place has my number.
Well,
I break more stuff when I go to Lake Fork than anything. I don't know how you do it.
Dude, I often tell people Lake Fork is not like, the guy business, and this, you get all kinds, and
yep.
I'll straight up tell people, like, Lake Fork is not the place to hire a guide for a beginner. Like, a beginner that's wanting to get into bass fishing, you don't want to go hire a guide on Lake Fork. I mean, there's times when it's fishing really good, when it's fine for beginners. But, like, you don't want to just come out here on a February or a June, late June or July. Like, these fish aren't always the easiest to catch out here. And you can have the best guide in the world, and there's times when there's some people that get in my boat, when they show up about 10 minutes into the trip, I'm like, well, they're probably not going to catch anything today. And there's nothing I can do to help them catch fish. These fish just require a little bit of skill to catch out here sometimes. But, I mean, we get so much, when we've talked about it at Lincoln Show, we get so much pressure on the lake. It's a perfect storm of a lot of things that make those fish tougher to catch sometimes. But what we need to do is we need to get you down here, and we got a bunch of lakes we can hit, but we need to get you down here when Fork is fishing good and just get the monkey off your back and go whack them on Fork.
Yeah, let me go deep, man. I'm so tired of coming up there when everything's shallow. I just want to go fish some offshore stuff. You would love this place. Bread and butter.
You would love this place.
Late May,
early June. You'd love it. Now, the only thing you wouldn't love is the traffic. Because you go to the offshore spots and you got to run by 10 to fish one because there's boats on the other 10. So when you're trying to run and gun and use your electronics and kind of just fish the ones that have fish, it can be challenging at times. There's so many challenges with Lake Fork, from navigation to hard-headed fish to not being able to fish everywhere you want to fish. And like in that scenario, in that scenario, like, you need to be able to run all the offshore stuff and see which one's holding the fish. Well, when 3/4 of it has a boat sitting on it, sometimes you miss the fish.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It's just, it's a very...
That's like Chickamauga. Chickamauga's got it's got ledges, but not very many of them.
Yeah.
And dude, you can be off of them pretty easy.
I mean, you're not part of this community, Mike Iaconelli. That's all I can think of when I think of Chickamauga offshore fishing. I mean, the best in the world were out there yelling at each other over them offshore spots.
Hey, Gene, let me ask you a question.
It's just because there's just a certain number of ledges you can fish on the Tennessee River, any of those lakes.
Yeah.
So it's just, and it's that needle in a haystack thing, but man, those lakes, especially Chick, are just on fire right now. But even around Lake Fork, there's so many good lakes around you.
Oh man,
that you could go just whale on them just about anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we've got all these like small lakes around here, and we've got other good big lakes. Palestine's really good at times. Lake of the Pines is one of the best kept secrets in the bass fishing world. Like Lake of the Pines, you'll have just your weekend. We have a old lady out here who runs a trail called the Rita Cox Trail. You'll have Rita Cox Trail go out there, and it might take 35 pounds to win on Lake of the Pines. Like, it's an unbelievable lake. And then we've got all the little lakes around here that are just unbelievable. Almost every town around here has like a small city lake or something like that, and just about all of them are hammer holes.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Do we have some? We used to have a really good one close to where I grew up. There were guys catching 13 to 16s every year out of this little lake, and it was just a special lake. And then it got hydrilla in it, and the lake manager panicked and put a bunch of carp in there and eat up all the grass, and now you can't catch anything in that lake. But that's what I love about Texas. You guys actually care about your bass fishing.
We do. We do. We've had some of those same scenarios of overreaction to grass or whatever and spraying. But for the most part, we try to keep that grass in there. And when they do get it out of there, we sure do gripe a lot about it. I think
the community kind of keeps them at bay a little bit better around here.
Yeah.
So
I don't mind people spraying because it always comes back.
Right. The carp kill it long term.
Right.
Yeah, the carp kill it long term, and that's the lake I fish right down the road. The Plover Fishing Area is full of 30 and 45 pound grass carp, and there's not a whole lot of cover on this lake. It's all structure fishing, and it's good for me because I know how to do it. But if you're trying to teach somebody or take a kid out there to fish, there's not very much to throw at all. And so it's tough for beginners and for intermediate people. But I don't agree with throwing carp in a lake. I would rather see somebody get one of those harvesters to get up the grass and let it grow back in 2 years and do it again.
Yeah, I just got back from Sam Rayburn today, and man, there's you get in the right areas of the lake. There's so much hydrilla, offshore hydrilla, out off the bank, really healthy grass, and man, that stuff just makes all the difference in the world. Like, we got down there, and we were right behind a hard cold front. The water had just dropped like 10 degrees in a couple days when we got there, and so the fishing was tough, but it took me about a half a day, 3/4 of a day, but I was able to, stay on that off the bank, that offshore grass, and just keep pounding it. Found a group of fish, then was able to duplicate another area similar to that, and I had enough to kind of sit out there and, a little bit of a grind, but caught a lot of fish and good quality size fish both days of the trip because we had that grass. We had that grass, and we knew that if we stayed around that good, healthy hydrilla out off the bank and stayed around the drains within it, that it was just a matter of time before we collide with a good group of them. And it just makes all the difference in the world. If you don't have that in there, and that cold front knocks all them fish off that flooded stuff, and they're not way out off the bank grouped up offshore yet, like out on main lake points and stuff, what do you do? Where do you go? That grass is just a way where there's going to be fish in that 365 days a year. You'll always be able to find good fish in that area.
Where there's grass, there's bass.
That's 100% true, man.
Always.
100% true.
Always. And in the heat of the summer, especially in Texas and here in Georgia, that's the only place a lot of them can go to just find oxygen.
True.
And that's what drives me nuts is why would they take away the oxygen producer in the lake?
That is
to have a good trophy lake,
That is a huge factor to the health of a fishery is the oxygen levels. I'll give you an extreme example over here. We have a very, very small power plant, like Heated Lake, where they produce power. And that lake gets up to 108 degrees in the summer sometimes. Now, normally you're thinking, okay, these fish are all going to die. Like 108 degree water, there's not going to be much oxygen. These fish are going to die. But this lake is slap full of hydrilla. It's basically got a rim of hydrilla that runs out to 12 foot deep around the whole lake. That lake is probably got more numbers of bass per acre than any lake I've ever fished in my life. And there'll be times when you can't hardly, you can't look anywhere and not see multiple boats in the wintertime when it's fishing at its prime, and everybody's catching 30, 40, 50, 60 a day. Like, it's just unbelievable the amount of bass and how it holds up to the pressure because of all that hydrilla.
Yep, that's true.
So, Gene, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What is your favorite lake to fish in the country and why?
Wilson on the Tennessee River. Mainly because it is small, and I can fish any type of cover or structure, from bluff walls to ledges to grass flats to creek ditches, all without just spending most of my time running around. And it's always got fish on it. It's got big smallmouth, got big largemouth, and it's just a fun lake to go catch them. I've caught a 6-pounder on a drop shot off the bed on a ledge or on a bluff wall on that lake. And I've caught them flipping bluff walls, and I've caught them cranking deep, all within a week of each other. And it's just fun, and it's just a good fishery. I don't know what these Asian carp are going to do to it, but it's always been a fun lake for me. So
new plan when all this stuff breaks loose. I'm coming there, and we're going to Wilson Lake. I think that's the new plan. I want to go there.
Yeah, it's a fun little lake, man. And literally it's a 15, 20-minute ride from one end to the other. It's not bad at all.
Awesome.
So isn't there a lake in Georgia where one of the biggest bass that's ever been caught? Was it Montgomery?
The world record, it was caught on an oxbow lake called Montgomery off of the Ogeechee River.
That's right.
Back in 1932.
1930.
So,
yes.
Whether I believe it or not.
I was about to say, give us the skinny, because there's a lot of controversy about that catch.
Well, the way I see it is that, of course, it was in 32, and I can't. But the biggest thing is I don't see a bass in a closed off oxbow lake having enough food every single day to reach that big in South Georgia. Is the thing. A bass, in order for it to get that big, needs to have adequate food nearly every day of its life to grow to 22 pounds.
Yeah.
And an oxbow lake ain't going to do that. Especially a small oxbow lake. So, I don't know. One of those things, that's the part of it that doesn't add up for me. But,
well, and there's
there hasn't been a 20, there hadn't been one even close to that caught in Georgia since 32.
Yeah, that's the deal. Is it's such a hard story to believe. Then it's 1932, and some of the pictures are. Is this real? Is this not real? I mean, what didn't he towed it into like the local grocery store to weigh it?
He took it to the post office and had it weighed at the post office. But it's a small town post office. Everybody's buddy. Who knows? Who knows? But I know he never took a lie detector test over it, and he was offered one. And it just all this stuff. It just never added up. But it what I see the good part of it, it gives us something to shoot for. If California would, as many times as there's been giant fish caught in California, and them not do something right by the rule books or by the state laws or anything like that, not to be able to count it as a record, it just makes me wonder. It's going to happen one day. They're just going to have to cross all their T's and dot all their I's to get it done right.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had the Dottie deal, right? The Dottie deal, where the guy, accidentally, I mean, this guy had hunted this fish for actually a couple of years and caught it a couple of times. It had been close to the world record. And just as fate would have it, the time that he catches it, that it weighs enough to be the world record, he foul hooked it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He foul hooked it while bed fishing, so he wasn't able to count it. And kudos to him, because he was obsessed with trying to break this world record, and he knew this one fish that had a chance to do it, and to catch a fish that big multiple times, A, that's just amazing.
Right.
And B, to have the integrity, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, because that would be a hard deal.
To have the integrity to foul hook one off a bed on accident and then own up to that and not count it when it was the actual world record.
Yeah.
Man, that's unbelievable, and that's a good dude. That's a guy I want in my corner right there.
That's right.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I just want somebody to do it right one time, you know.
Yeah. Well, and you and I mean, everybody that fishes a lot, if you bed fish at all, you know, like there's just times when you foul hook them. It's not that you're trying to. The fish bites your bait, bites the back end of the bait. Sometimes on the bigger fish, they're deeper. You can't really see them that good. Your bait moves a little bit, and you swing, and you catch them on the outside of the head or something. It happens, and when it does, if you turn them or whatever, you just got to throw them back. It's just, there's nobody there to call. Go ahead.
Yep, I mean they'll grab the tail on your jig, or they'll grab the tail on their lizard. You set the hook, and the hook goes in the outside of their mouth.
Yep.
You got to put that son of a gun back in the water. You know?
Yeah, and it takes a lot of personal integrity because there's nobody there to call the penalty. It's like golf. There's nobody there to call that penalty on you. You got to call the penalty on yourself and let that fish go.
Yep.
And dude, to have the world record and have to do that, golly, can you imagine, man? That would just be heart wrenching.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad they took pictures though. That's one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Unbelievable fish. Unbelievable story. For the folks that are listening, if you've never heard about or seen the YouTube video or read up on Dottie, the bass from California, Dottie, you really need to dig into that because it's one of the best bass fishing stories of all time.
It's like a little vlog.
Yeah, they have a video about it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, man, we've probably...
And it's spelled D-O-T-T-I-E.
That's right.
There you go, D-O-T-T-I-E. That's right. Absolutely. Well, Gene, man, I know we've taken up a lot of your time tonight, dude. I sure appreciate you hanging out with us and appreciate the insights and everything, man. And let's do it again. And then once we get some craziness behind us, let's get on the water and go fishing.
You bet, brother. I got to get out there to Texas anyway. I got a date to go fish with somebody famous I'm not telling nobody about. It'll happen.
Somebody famous, huh?
It ain't you.
It ain't me. Yeah, no kidding, it ain't me. Yeah, no, I do not qualify under the famous category by any means, my brother. Well, man, I appreciate it, bud. Hey, y'all have a good one. Y'all stay healthy over there in Georgia, man.
Yeah, man, y'all take it easy. Enjoy the heat this summer.
Yes, sir. Sure will. Thanks, buddy. Later.
All right, later.
That was cool.
Yeah. I mean, Gene's a good dude, man. He's a really good guy. I watched a lot of his content back in the day. You know, to be perfectly honest, I don't watch very much YouTube content these days. Right. I mean, I'm always working. But back in the day, I watched quite a bit of Gene Jensen, Flukemaster's channel, back when it was one of the only fishing channels out there, because I was obsessed with all things fishing. And I always watched his stuff and was a fan of what he did, liked it, really liked it. And when he came to Texas for the kayak tournament, the way this all happened was kind of weird. I saw his truck in the parking lot. He's got a wrapped truck. Saw his truck, and I said, dude, Gene Jensen's here for this big national level kayak tournament. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of looked over there in the crowd, and sure enough, saw him standing there, walked up to him. I said, hey, man. And it was a seminar night at Lake Fork Marina, and they were doing the registration for the kayak tournament the same night. So I walked up to him in Lake Fork Marina parking lot. I'm like, hey, bud, it's good to meet you. I've watched your channel for a long time. Love what you do. Mm-hmm. Hey, we're doing a seminar. It's a free seminar for everybody. If you want to actually come speak with us, we would love to have you. And he jumped right on up there and jumped on in the middle of the seminar and talked to everybody. And that was how we met. And then I messaged him after that and mentioned, doing a podcast someday, and he was all in on that. So, he's been there and done that in the bass fishing industry, obviously, for a very long time. Right. And he actually, knew who I was and watched some of my content. So that's awesome. It's been a pretty cool experience here lately because we are a small YouTube channel, like a very small YouTube channel. And I've said this a lot, and I've always meant it. Like, we don't have the biggest audience, but I feel like we have the best audience. And I've always meant that as in, like, the way our audience is so loyal. We have the same viewers week to week. They watch everything we do. They're into what we're doing. And that's awesome. That's incredible. But now we can add another, caveat to that because now we know that we've got guys like Jacob Wheeler.
Mark Daniels Jr.
And Gene Jensen watching our content. that makes me personally feel extremely good about the content that we're producing. No matter how many or little views it gets, when you have people of that caliber in this industry watching your content and seeing what you're doing and being aware of who you are and knowing that you're doing some good content, that's a big deal for me personally.
Yep.
Like, at the end of the day, if I go flat broke in this deal or I end up making $1 million or however my life ends up in this fishing industry, I'm good with it. If I've got their attention, like, that makes me, I've accomplished beyond my wildest dream of goals in this deal. I would have never thought 3 or 4 or 5 years ago that I would be sitting here making fishing content that people like these guys would actually consume. That's crazy. There would be no reason for them to pay attention to me. So
It's funny how the world turns.
it's funny how things work out. It really is. And like Gene said earlier tonight, my deal was I kind of saw what was going on in the fishing world with YouTube stuff, and I just jumped in and started making videos and had no clue what I was doing. And I just kept making them, and I just kept, we were fortunate right off the bat to get some really cool fishing content that got some attention.
But perseverance was very much
Like, we whacked them a couple times on video right off the beginning, and that got a little bit of a fire started as far as, a little bit of attention, getting that first 1,000 view video, getting that first 5,000 view video.
You had the small sticks on the fire to get it going at that point.
That gave me the motivation to keep making videos that I wasn't wasting my time, because we went out and we caught all them swimbait fish on Monticello with Andrew, and that video's got like 7,000 or 8,000 views. Right off the bat.
Right.
And so that was a big deal to have that go right for me, have that break. But the main thing was there was a lot of videos after that didn't get 1,000 views, and I just kept going, and you just kept making content.
Perseverance, man.
Hey, man, we've reached the point where we got guys like Jacob Wheeler and Gene Jensen watching, and that's
Pretty cool.
I mean,
So there's that.
one of the most successful, original, back in the day, first to the party YouTube fishermen that's done it as big and as good as just about anybody has, and probably the best fisherman on planet Earth. That's a pretty big deal. For me personally, it's a big deal.
I'd say so. So let's go ahead and close it out with this. What would you be doing during this quarantine if you weren't a full-time fishing guide?
What would I be doing?
What
in the
would you be
quarantine?
doing?
Like, what would I want to be doing, or like, what would I probably be doing?
Let's go with what would you want to be doing?
What would I want to be doing?
If you were not fishing, all right, because I obviously know that would be what you would want to do.
Yeah.
But if fishing was not an option, what would you be doing all this
when I
quarantine?
was growing up, football was my life, baseball was my life. I would want to be a sports coach, but during the quarantine, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
So think about how life works. Like, when I left high school and went to college, my whole deal was I was going to play ball as long as they let me, and then I was going to coach ball the rest of my life. If I had ended up down that path, where would I be sitting right now? I know I'd be sitting there without a dadgum paychecks. Where I'd be sitting, I'd be going, what do I do? I don't know what I would want to be doing.
I mean, I know you're very much involved in golf too. Whenever you,
Yeah, I worked at I was an assistant golf pro for a little while, for a short time. Before that, I played a lot of tournament golf on amateur level, lower city championships, stuff like that.
because I thought that would be the route that you would go, was kind of the golf stuff. I know you were heavy into football and baseball.
I mean, realistically, what I would be doing is I would be selling beer just like you, because we used to work there together.
Right.
Realistically, I'd be selling beer.
Sorry.
That's what I'd be doing.
I was more or less aiming towards your free time.
Oh, my free time. If I couldn't fish, what would I be doing? Yeah, golf.
Golf.
These days, I'm too old to play any other sport. Too old, fat, and out of shape to play any other sport. So.
I get it.
You know what I would love to be doing, but I can't, is, I coach my kids' soccer team when they're playing. And literally, the night before our first game is when our soccer season got canceled due to this. We were about to play our first game, and I'd been working with the kids for about 3 weeks at that point. We were all primed up, dude. We were ready. And I had these dudes, they were hummed. They were sitting there buzzing. I mean, I had them fired up, dude. I talked to them all week that week about, it's for real this week. We got a game, no more scrimmages. We're playing for keeps this week. We're going to get after them. We're going to compete. We're going to fly around that field and tear everybody a new rear end out here, boy. We're going to get after them. That's my deal with the kids, and I coach, 10, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. And my deal with them is I don't hold them accountable to skills. I don't hold them accountable to kicking a ball correctly on a soccer field. I don't hold them. I mean, I try to teach them fundamentals, but I don't hold them accountable to their skill with the ball. But 100,000% hold them accountable to maximum effort in everything we do, practice, games, whatever. So my big deal is when I'm coaching them is we're going to get buzzing. We're going to, like, when they blow that whistle, we're going to fly around this field so intense that the other team's going to be scared to death. Like, we're going to be like a bunch of ticked off bumblebees in their ears. We're going to buzz around this field. Mm-hmm. And so we were all hummed up and ready to go, and then they pulled the rug out from under us the night before, and all the kids were sad, you know, and it was they all wanted to get after it pretty bad because I'd been, you know, I'm a pretty hard-nosed guy. Like, I get after them in practice. We go. We compete. We, you know, for me, when I was a kid growing up in sports, it was what I loved playing football and baseball. Loved it. I mean, I lived for it. I mean, it was the only thing I cared about. But what I got out of sports, and I was a little bit aware of it at the time, but I had no idea how ingrained it was becoming. What sports did for me, team sports did for me, was it gave me a great basis on how to succeed, how to function well in society, no matter what it was that I was doing. Mm-hmm. So the work ethic, the working as a team, sacrificing for others, you know, carrying the load, making sure you take care of your personal responsibilities as part of a team effort, accountability, all these things that I learned through team sports made me successful in anything that I've done in life. So, and of course the Marine Corps, just when I joined the Marine Corps, that just, you know, re-implemented all those traits because it's the ultimate test of those traits in a lot of ways in the Marine Corps. And so I feel like my ability to run my own business, be self-motivated, succeed in an industry that's hard to break into, my ability, and you know this when I was at the beer company, to be one of the more successful guys in the sales end over there, like my ability to do all those things that I've been successful at 100% came from growing up in team sports as my youth. So when I coach these kids, even at 8, 9, 10 years old in soccer, man, I'm really trying to do everything I can. Yeah, I'm a hard-nosed guy. I coach exactly like you would expect a former Marine to coach. I'll get on them. I'll get after them. I'll raise my voice a little bit when they're not doing the right thing. I'm going to hold them accountable to everything they do. But I always make sure to explain to these kids, listen, how you do anything is how you do everything. And the way that you react when I come at you and I hold you accountable to high standards is the way you're going to react for the rest of your life. So if you want to be successful for the rest of your life, you better learn how to be accountable and hold yourself to an extremely high standard right now. If you can learn how to do this right now today as a 10-year-old kid, as a 9-year-old kid, then you will be able to carry this into whatever it is that you want to do throughout the rest of your life. And we talk about this when we're coaching the kids. And that's, man, if there's one thing that I love as much as fishing, it's team sports. And I was that way from when I was a kid. It didn't matter if there was a ball and a team sport involved, I was in. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter what it was. Baseball, soccer, football, basketball. I loved it all. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I would wish that I was doing with my time, besides fishing, was being involved in sports. My kids' sports, you know, even golf was fun, but it was more individual. Golf was a deal where I did enjoy golf a lot. I really, really liked golf. I even thought at one time that I loved golf. Mm-hmm. But I didn't. Golf was a deal where I had a little bit of natural ability, and I saw an opportunity to make a living doing something I enjoyed, and I tried to make a run at that. And it didn't work out. It probably didn't work out because I did not absolutely love it. Because if you absolutely love something, you'll wake up and work obsessively at it to succeed. It will be something like with this fishing deal, and you know this, it wasn't a choice for me to succeed or fail at this. Mm-hmm. I had to make this work because I had to do this every day. Like, once I saw an opportunity to get the ability to do this every day and feed my family, there was no other option. I had to do it every day. And I feel like if I would have came upon that same, like if I would have stayed the course in college and come upon the same opportunity in some type of team sports oriented deal, coaching or whatever, I feel like it would have been the same way where I would have had to make it work because I loved it so much. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So that's what I wish I was doing because
Well, I can't coach my baseball boys right now either.
I know you coach some kids in baseball. You do some you coach some select ball stuff and things like that.
Yeah, we were lucky to get 2 tournaments in before they kind of jerked our season away from us. But
yeah, and that's the deal. You know, I'm involved in the board up there in soccer, and I don't know what. I mean, I guess we're going to cancel the season. I mean, I don't know.
See,
I don't know if we're going to try and have a season after this. Like if they turn us loose in May, I don't know that they will. But if they turn us loose in May, are we going to try to have a season? And if we do try to have a season, are the parents going to want their kids to even be involved?
Right.
Because some parents are probably not. I mean, I'm sure these days, especially, there's going to be a lot of parents that don't want their kids involved in team sports in May, right after when all this is just still settling. So, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors right now, and they haven't given us a definitive answer on what, because, you know,
they don't have the answers.
Well, I know, and to their credit,
yeah,
you know, they don't. But I'm just saying, like, as far as USSSA, they kind of put it as kind of a blanket statement of, hey, we might resume, we might not. We'll
I mean, that's the deal. Like, we're talking about this, the fear of the unknown. Like, the reason everybody's so freaked out, and there's so many people that are on kind of the side of the argument I lean towards of this is overblown.
Mm-hmm.
That are freaking out. The reason they're freaking out is because they don't know when life's going to resume. And the people that are on the other side of the argument, they're freaking out because they don't know what this thing is going to end up doing when all the dust settles. We don't know how many people this is going to kill. Right. We don't know how many people this is going to affect. And when this is all said and done, we don't know what the long-term economic effects are going to be. Like, everybody's living with the fear of the unknown right now. And brother, I can tell you from my experience being deployed as a United States Marine to a combat zone, it's the fear of the unknown. Before you go, when you're there, when you don't know what, like, you're not sure about how life's going to end up.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sure what this deployment is going to entail. You're not sure what tomorrow is going to entail.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst. I mean, the fear of the unknown is a very real, very big thing. And our whole world is living with a very big factor of the fear of the unknown right now.
Yep.
And that's a horrible thing to have to go through, but we're all having to go through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The good news is we're all going through it together. It's the guys that are really motivated, that are really driven, that's probably the ones that this is affecting the worst, really emotionally, internally, because they are like the type of guy that I want to be, that I try to be, that I think I am. I can't stand to sit still. I can't stand to just sit and wait. It's the worst thing you can do to me is tell me just don't do anything. And it's kind of the state the whole world is in right now, is just wait. We got to see what this does. We got to stay away from each other. We got to isolate, quarantine, whatever. Stop what you're doing. Don't go on with life. Just wait. Put things on pause. Man, for me, dude, I'm high speed, low drag. I'm running all the time. I mean, I've got a mental motor that just doesn't quit. So for me to be told to put things on hold, I'm like, no.
Yeah, I'd be willing to say you're probably fit to be tied about 75% of your eyes being open. Like, you're constantly just yes. I'm working. Like, even at Rayburn, dude, I was like everybody else when we get back was doing. I was in the bedroom. I went in the bedroom for a couple hours every night and worked because that's how I'm built. I have to be building something. I have to be working towards something. That's how I'm built. Mm-hmm.
I like building things, businesses, teams. That's who I am.
Busy is good because busy is how stuff gets done.
Yeah, I want to work on something all the time. That's just, and I think that probably comes from my grandfather. He was a lot the same way, and he worked his whole life till basically he died at 80-something years old. But, yeah, it's the worst. I don't know. I mean, if I wasn't able to still go out and do what I do every day and go fishing and have goals, so like if I had to actually go on this pause mode, bro, I would be going crazy. I would not handle this well at all.
I wouldn't either, and I'm glad that my business is deemed essential, so because otherwise I'd be, oh man, I can only go fishing so much.
Your business is essential.
Yeah.
People got to have their beer, folks.
They've got to.
People have got to have
their beer. Can you imagine if they couldn't get beer during all this?
If people quit selling beer and they were sitting at home with no beer. Oh, man. Yeah, so Chris works at a beer shop where we used to work together, and yeah, apparently beer sales is essential. That's kind of funny.
I mean, it is.
It's a little bit comedic.
It is comedic, but at the same token, I understand exactly why they say it is.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine?
Yeah.
People had to homeschool the kids,
stay
at home with their wives. Not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you're not used to that. Like today's society, that's not how the clock turns. Like it doesn't work that way.
No.
And having no Miller Lite,
No Miller
Coors
Lite. No Coors Light.
What? No way. Couldn't be done. The divorce rate would be through the roof. It would be incredible.
We'd have a major uptick in suicides.
It'd be a bad deal.
Oh, man. Well, dude, I think that's been a really good podcast. I enjoyed talking to Gene. Got the folks that listen got a little bit more personal insight into me there. A little bit. Some stuff that I really don't ever get into for whatever reason, not because I don't want to, just because it just never really comes up. So good job, Mr. Interviewer, of digging in on me.
Man, sometimes I just like to get there.
Of course, I'm pretty easy to interview. Like, you give me one little thing, and I just kind of run.
Squirrel!
Yeah, squirrel. Here we go. Spider. Strap in, folks. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Yeah. Yeah, that's my whole life. My life motto should be strap in, folks. It's going to be bumpy. That should be my life motto.
You need one of them racing seatbelts to hang out with this guy.
This is true.
A 4-point harness.
This is true. This is true.
Especially if you're riding the nettle thing back there, boy.
That's great, dude. And we're rambling like we tend to do. So, Chris, do that thing you do.
We got to go get some gasoline and burn your garage down. There's a spider on the loose in here.
I forgot all about that.
You didn't see me. I've been doing this the whole time.